Welcome to the Talent Development Hot Seat. I'm your host, Andy Storch, and I'm excited that you're joining me today for another great episode and conversation to help you up your game and improve your capabilities in the world of talent development. And I've got a good one for you today. We're talking all about culture and how to create a great place to work. My guest today is Cory Sanford, who is the VP of Culture and Talent at Guidant Financial, as well as a speaker, HR consultant, and the author of the book, HR, You Kidding Me? Surprisingly simple steps to unlock the power of people. Cory takes a very unique approach to talent and culture that I've been really impressed with since working with him and his team at Guidant and talking with him more. And I'm excited to have him on the show today. So, Cory, welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here, Andy. Appreciate you.
Yeah, really glad we got to connect a few weeks back, did some work together. You were hosting a really fantastic sort of development day for all of your employees at Guidant, where I got to speak, but I was really impressed with everything else that you did throughout the day. And I want to talk about that, but also want to talk about everything else that you're doing from a culture building perspective at Guidant, because I think it's pretty unique and something a lot of people can learn from and maybe be inspired by. But before we get to that, I always love to start with a little bit of background. How did you get into HR and talent development in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was working at U.S. Bank years ago when I was in going getting my undergrad, and I just recognized there was lots of places where I felt like we could improve the employee experience and culture, different things like that. I won't get into specifics. I also got robbed at the bank while I was
Ooh,
there. That's a whole story. That's
wow.
included. That's it. Stories included in my book. And so there's a lot of these sort of events and experiences that I was like, man, I feel really passionate that workplace should be the place where people can do their best, be their best, and feel their best. And that's become sort of a mantra of mine. And as I sort of explored like what that would look like, I was led to the HR field, and I even took a career exploration test, and it was like, so I'm a product of a really cool one credit college exploration class that said, hey, you might think about looking into HR. And so a lot of those experiences led me to then explore what that looked like. And I talked to a couple people in the space that were just loved their jobs and loved what they did. And I was like, that sounds like where I would love to be and where I can make a difference. And so I got my undergrad there at Boise State. I got a master's degree at Cornell University and have been in the HR space for about 20 years and been really passionate about it.
That's awesome. I don't know, you think about corporate professionals, different departments and companies. I don't know if you'll ever find a group of people more passionate about what they do than HR, especially talent development. Not taking anything away from finance or marketing or IT, but I just find there's so much more passion there for the people. And it's interesting, where you are now at Guidant Financial. We're at an interesting time, I feel like, in 2025, a few years removed from the pandemic, where everybody went remote, whether they wanted it or not, right? And many companies have chosen to stay remote. A lot of companies are, famously pulling people back into offices and saying, hey, if you live within 100 miles, you got to come into the office. And if you don't, then maybe you need to move. There are many companies, I think, floating in between, right? Trying to figure out that right balance with a hybrid approach or, hey, come in 2 days a week or on Wednesdays or whatever. But at Guidant, you've really embraced a fully remote approach. I wonder if you can talk about the culture at Guidant and the idea behind the fully remote workplace.
You bet. So yeah, like a lot of people, we were faced with a decision in 2020 around how to continue operating in the midst of a pandemic. Luckily for us, in 2019, we recognized that we needed to lean more into principles instead of policies. Our company was expanding from a Bellevue, Washington centric office where they'd been for nearly 20 years. They were expanding into the Boise, Idaho area and starting a new office there. And that's how I joined the organization there, is they needed an HR leader on the ground. And we recognized with it, we were already becoming more distributed. We were already leaning into more flexible schedules. We were already leaning into sort of more remote experiences. And so were building a runway heading into 2020 already to build that capability from both an IT perspective, also from a culture perspective and processes. And so when 2020 came around, March 16th, I'll always remember, fully and permanently remote, and we haven't looked back. And we said, this is it. This is what we're going to be. We evaluated the pros and cons of the different models and recognized that we could establish a really clear capability around remote work. It would take some intention and it would take some work. And there's a lot of tools and frameworks that I've learned since then that we've applied that have been helpful. Um, And our CEO at the time, our co-founder, David Nilsson, is now famous for saying, has done TED Talks, and he said, if you do hybrid work, you're going to pay top dollar for both, and you can be best in class in neither.
Hmm.
And we've sort of embraced that. Hey, we could, as hard as it might be, could really embrace the remote experience for our team. And we won recently a number one best place to work award organization in one of the states that we operate in, and we were the only out of 30, 40 companies, the only one that was fully remote. So our culture is going up against others that are fully in office or hybrid, and we are generating a lot of great culture and work experiences for our team members. We're winning awards, and also we realize that, especially right now with all the noise about return to work, we are getting flooded with amazing talent that are still looking for remote work.
Right.
And we will continue to be fully and permanently remote. It's working for us and our clients.
How do you, a lot of people, certainly we all know the benefits of people working remotely, giving them more flexible schedules. They don't have to spend a lot of time on a commute. People can spend more time with their kids or family if they have it. They can work more in the style that they want. But many detractors might say, like, hey, you lose a lot of collaboration when you don't have people together in a room. How do you make up for some of those potential risks or downsides by not having people together in one place?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I'll say. So, just culturally, the two biggest concerns are around connection and collaboration.
Hmm.
And so you have to solve for those independently and you have to solve for them intentionally. And what we did when we leaned into the culture piece is we said, hey, we need to create a work experience where people feel connected to our purpose. Three things. And one of my mantras is culture is connection. Culture is connection. And so we say culture is connection to three things: one, our purpose; two, our leaders; and three, to each other. And we created a menu of options. Many of them are required, some that are optional. I think that's a really important part of culture, is that there's optional things that people can lean into. I love your mantra about owning your career
Hmm.
and owning your life. And this is a way that people can take ownership of their work experience by having options. I can lean into everything that Guidant offers, or I can just go to the ones that are required, and participate and lean into those. But having a sense of choice and creating your own work experience creates that ownership, which is great. And then we have really deliberate and specific activities that lean into connecting people to our purpose, to our leaders, especially their direct supervisor, and then to each other. And you were part of one of those days where we had a full day
Yep.
where we leaned in and connected with each other. And for people still think we're bonkers for even having a full day connection experience, even though with us
Virtually.
being fully remote. Yeah, virtually we have 250 people across the globe, and we all come together for a day to just connect and lean in and learn. And so you got to see part of what we do to keep people connected. The other piece is the collaboration piece, and we simply accept that there may be some limitations. The biggest thing that we miss is a whiteboard. That's the
Hmm.
biggest thing. That's the
Right.
biggest thing that we miss. But there are electronic tools in Teams and other places, and we have regular effective one-on-ones and team meetings where we have brainstorming sessions and we use tools to collaborate and brainstorm just like we would in a room. And so again, we don't have a whiteboard, but there are tools that can supplement for that. And
Yep.
with intention and leaning into that, we are making up for and creating, I think, actually some better connection and some better collaboration.
Right. I think it's people are always curious about what tools other organizations are using. So if we could get a little bit gritty on that or tactical, what are some of the tools that most people in the organization use, or are there some that you fully endorse and recommend? Like, are we on Teams? Are you recommending people use certain whiteboard, online whiteboarding platform? What type of collaboration tools do you encourage people to use inside your organization?
Yeah, there's a lot of now really cool AI tools, right? Just to take notes and to record meetings and
Mhm.
to capture all the takeaways and things like that for collaboration, which is really, really nice. We use Microsoft Teams internally. And so that's our primary communication tool. We're on Office 365. One thing we love about Teams is we're able to create within Teams different channels. And a couple of the channels that have been really helpful for us in terms of collaboration. The first one is one thing that we knew that we were going to miss going from in office it's a fully remote, is like this break room idea, this
Yep.
organic pass in the hallway sort of experience. So we literally have a Teams channel called Break Room. People jump in there. We celebrate birthdays. People can share recipes, travel pictures, lots of pictures about furry friends. We talk lots about pets and food and anime, and that's where all that sort of organic discussion and fun can happen. We also have a Cheers channel. So we used to have a prior provider that was a separate a tool or resource for us
Yeah.
to recognize teams. And we just created a channel in Microsoft Teams called Cheers, and we have our values and principles posted there. And this is a very active channel. It's organic, it's peer to peer, and people are saying, "Hey, I noticed this person living this value, and I wanted to make sure we called that out and celebrated that." And so we've been able to centralize actually a lot of other types of tools into Microsoft Teams, and we're really happy with what that's provided for
Okay.
us.
Oh, that's good to hear. And let's talk about career development because you and I were talking a few weeks back. You were telling me your approach to career development and especially employer branding, because you mentioned
Yeah.
hey, you've created this remote culture, which I know is attractive to a lot of people. I think you're also really big on promoting from within as much as possible, or wanting to people to really develop in their careers and helping people, supporting people and building a personal brand to build the employer brand so that you attract more talent as well, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah. A couple things that we do. So first of all, our employer brand is three things. Like most employer brands, we have three things. First is an amazing fully remote experience. Second is lots of growth opportunities. There are lots of ways to grow within our organization. There's lots of things that we do intentionally. There's lots of organic growth. And the third thing is we commit to having some of the greatest team members and supervisors you will ever work with, accessible leaders, kind, passionate people. So that's sort of the intersection of all of our employer brand. And so a big part of that is the growth opportunities. And so it's really important for us to measure how we're doing that, first of all. And so we set a standard every year. We want to see at least 25% of our team advance to new roles every year. And that's ambitious. That's
Hmm.
aggressive. I talk to other people in the HR space, and some people are excited about a 10% or even a 15%. And
Right.
our goal is 25%. We've been 30% or higher for the last 4 years. So we're seeing a lot of people grow and develop into new roles. And so with that measurement and that commitment and that goal, we do a couple of things that help us get there. The first is, in so many organizations, advancement just gets bottlenecked at the top
Right.
only from leadership. Like the only way you can advance is if you start to lead people, and then it sort of bottlenecks at the top. Well, if you lean into really important roles where you can have subject matter experts and create step promotions for some of those important roles, you really open up that pyramid, and now people can become subject matter experts within their own vertical. And so we have ones and twos and threes and leads and seniors and then of course supervisors and roles like that. But creating those step promotions, we like to say, hey, uh, learn more to earn more. So as you're making a bigger impact in the organization, we'll help you do that. And you are eligible for this step promotion, then you can, earn this promotion. And we help people see this career path for them in their own role. But there's also lots of roles out in the organization. And so a second thing that we do is I measure, and I'm not aware of any good benchmarks. So if any of the listeners are measuring this in some way, like connect with me, because I don't even know how to benchmark this. But in the last 4 years, about 2/3 of our promotions or advancements have been career path predictable, meaning we have those in place. We have job descriptions. They know what's
Hmm.
next. They move up in they move up that step. A third of those, though, we had no idea the role didn't even exist until we said, "Hey, we have a need and you have a skill. Let's create a new role or a new experience or an opportunity for you to move into that." And about a third of our advancements are those. Like when we started the year, we didn't know that this was a role that was going to happen. And so there are lots of real flexible and organic ways that people can move throughout the organization as well, which is really, really exciting. And 2/3 to 1/3 seems like a good balance, but I don't know.
That's really cool. I don't have a benchmark on that either. As you're talking about these things, a goal of 25% plus advancement, and you've had 30% plus over the years, people either moving up, or not necessarily into management, but more expert roles, or maybe they're moving into different roles, new roles
Yep.
are being created. It strikes me that it's really, really important to have support from managers, from leaders or supervisors, right? That they are willing to invest in developing people and okay letting them move into new roles. And what I hear often in lots of organizations is, hey, we'd love to have that, but our managers are hoarding talent, right? Or they're not wanting
Yeah.
their people to move up because they're afraid, oh, I'm going to lose my best person, or they're going to take my job or whatever. How do you make sure your leaders are on board with this so they're supporting this and not holding people back?
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, like we just know in our organization, like the best sign of a good leader is somebody who's developing talent that can add more and more value in the organization, whether that's on their team or whether that is on somebody else's team. I make it a point anytime somebody is promoted outside of somebody's team to another team, I always send them a note and we celebrate. Like that is a significant indication that you are doing the right things.
Hmm.
And so we lean into that celebration and that recognition for that supervisor. The second thing we do, I like to say there's no silver bullet in leadership because there isn't. The
No.
closest thing that I have found is regular and effective one-on-ones. And we have a rubric to measure yourself as 10 questions. How am I doing on my one-on-ones? Because it's
Mhm.
really important that we self-reflect on the effectiveness of those, because that's where the magic of leadership can happen. How are you performing on your goals? What roadblocks are you experiencing? What do you want to do next? Is there a leader that you want to meet or interact with? And that's the space in those regular one-on-ones to get feedback, to give feedback, review goals, to talk about the future, and to help people know, hey, what's next in your promotion. And some people say, I'm happy where I'm at. Cool. Some people are like, hey, I'd really like to explore and get to know this department. We just had a really cool experience with a member of our team in the Philippines. We have a really great global talent partner, Doxa Talent, and we had somebody that was filling in for a maternity leave temporarily,
Mhm.
and one of the approaches that I take with talent, especially global talent, is invest in the depth of their experience, but also the breadth of their experience. And so we recognize that this executive assistant that was filling in temporarily for a few months while someone was on maternity leave was really great at some marketing, content creation, and things like that. And so when the original executive assistant came back from maternity leave, because we had exposed this individual to this breadth, we created a path and moved her over to our marketing team, and she's jumping in, right away and adding value. That just happened last week because we were open to the idea of applying skill sets, not just depth but breadth across the organization, and then
Yeah.
celebrate when people can move.
That's really cool. Can you talk about your onboarding experience, which so many companies I find are really paying more attention to these days, and it makes a
Sure.
big difference in the employee experience life cycle, as well as what I believe you call your offboarding experience when people
Yeah.
decide to leave the organization.
Yeah, totally. So I'll do offboarding first, or excuse me, I'll onboarding first. Um, Again, here's what I like to say about onboarding. Good onboarding is our best recruitment insurance.
Hmm.
Companies spend billions of dollars globally every year to fill roles through posting the roles, doing the interviews, the cost of talent acquisition leaders, and things like that. And so good onboarding is the insurance to protect that investment that we're making in that process. And something that I've recognized, and this applies to both offboarding and onboarding, is when the potential for emotions to be high or strong, that is an equally significant opportunity for organizations to make a meaningful impact in those moments. So think about how somebody might feel when they're joining an organization. They might feel a little bit nervous. They might be scared. They might be embarrassed. They might be really excited. They might be confused. And when the possibility for really strong emotions like that are present, that's when we know we can double down, lean in, and create space for them to have a great experience, because that's what they'll remember associated with those strong emotions. And so a couple things that we do from an onboarding perspective that we found to be really useful, especially in a remote environment. They apply to every environment though. One, we try to hire in cohorts. There's something special to be said about starting a new experience with somebody else. Even if
Yeah.
it's a stranger on day one, they quickly become a partner and a friend because you're going through a similar experience together. And that creates a lot of, again, back to this connection piece. That's really helpful. We also assign every new person joining our organization or anybody in the organization that's being promoted to be a new supervisor, they receive what we call a partner in crime. And that is just somebody that's their friend, their partner, they're going to meet with, say, how are things going? This is outside of their chain of command. This is usually outside their department. It's just somebody, again, to create a connection with. And it's a place where they can ask those questions like, hey, when's payday? Or are those people divorced? Are they married? Are they, some of those questions, like, and
Yeah.
remind me why we do this way. Like, sometimes there's questions about an organization, and that partner in crime is a really safe place to create that, with an onboarding
Right.
experience. Yeah. So those are a couple things we do. Of course, we make sure they have their equipment on time ahead of time. Their first meeting is with IT so that they have all of the tools and resources that they need. We introduce them on day one so everybody knows to welcome them when they see them in meetings and in trainings. And then I try to send them a message before they start, letting them know we're excited to have them join. I send them a personal message the day of saying, we're so glad you're here. Lean in and have fun today. Don't worry about making a huge impact for today or this week or this
Mhm.
month. Just lean in and have some fun.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. And then I love that. And I think that there's so much, like you said, there's so much emotion there. It's such an important, pivotal time be because you're right. It's such a big decision to take a job with a company, and you're so
Totally.
excited. And historically, we both know there's been a lot of experiences where people get all really excited. They get the laptop and they're like, here's your laptop, get to work. You'll meet with your boss next week. And like, that's it. You don't, here's IT. And there's no one else to connect with. You have all these questions. And so we know it's really important for them to have, like you said, that buddy, a mentor, a team to be able to connect with, to really recognize the emotional time that is and make sure people have a really great experience coming in, because they're going to stay most likely longer and maybe refer friends. But some people do decide to leave. So can you talk about the offboarding experience as well?
Yeah, I will say one of the important metrics that we have in the organization is first year retention.
Mm,
We feel like that's a really, really important way for us to measure the effectiveness of onboarding in stages, those first few weeks, those first few months, and that first year. And then, yeah, so, some people leave. That's a chance for us to revisit how we're shaping our onboarding, especially in that first year. So, yeah, offboarding is interesting. I like to say offboarding is the new onboarding. And that is because, again, this is also a place where people might have really strong emotions and often conflicting emotions. People say it's bittersweet. I'm really excited about this new opportunity, but I'm sad to leave the organization. Some people are stoked to leave the organization. They didn't have a good experience, and
no.
and they're ready to move on. And some people are asked to leave the organization. They weren't a good fit or they weren't performing, and others leave on their own. A couple things that we do at Guidant that we have found really, really impactful is regardless of the reason that somebody is exiting the organization, we always let the entire organization know. Again, we're a small organization compared to many. We have 250 team members. We have a weekly Monday morning stand up that's all hands. And so we built in a mechanism to share things like this. But we always share when somebody's exiting the organization. We always celebrate the time that they've spent with us. We encourage everybody to stay in contact with them if they developed relationships. And we wish them sincerely the very best. Wherever their next career step takes them, we're proud that we were part of that journey, and we sincerely wish them the best. I make it a point as the HR leader to stay in contact with a lot of the people that have exited the organization. That becomes our alumni group, and that can be a powerful group. And so I make a point to stay in contact with people. And we've seen some really cool things happen because of those relationships that I've kept in contact with. We've seen many people return to the organization. Hey, the grass was not as green as I thought it was out of these other
Right.
places. I love to come back to the guided grass. And in many cases, we're able to find a way to get back to the organization. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes there's really unique roles and we don't have the opening. And so that I have a list of a handful of people that are like, when you have a role that meets this, I want back into the organization.
Hmm.
We've seen people refer friends as clients. We've seen people refer friends as employees or candidates. We've seen people become our clients. And so when we treat and celebrate everybody leaving the organization with respect and celebration, then we have seen great returns on that. I do have a specific story. Do you have time for me to
Yeah,
share a quick
I've got
story about
time. Let's
that?
do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
So when I joined Guidant Financial, it was about 6.5 years ago. I was excited, and I had all those emotions. Right? I'm excited. I want to make an impact. I'm also really nervous. This is a brand new office that they're building in Boise, and I'm feeling the pressure of maintaining this culture. And we had our talent acquisition leader that was going to be a member of my team that had helped build up that Boise, Idaho office for a couple of months. And on my first day, he quit.
Hmm.
And I was, you know, I had some really strong emotions and reactions. Like, man, my job just got a lot harder because
Yeah.
now I have to find somebody to replace this individual, and I'm not going to get, the input that they were getting in hiring and things like that. Now, this person is fantastic, amazing. They were coming from an industry they were super passionate about, and they recognized they wanted to get back to that industry. So rather than being upset or angry or
Mhm.
disappointed, said, I was proud of them for being willing to do that and acknowledging that. And we had a good exit, and we stayed in contact. We've been friends ever since. And to replace him, we promoted from within this individual for a year that then got this launch pad to this amazing recruiting opportunity through Facebook. Like that launched her HR career, and we celebrated. We were proud of that. And then when I needed to hire somebody else, went back to the individual that quit on my first day. They referred somebody to me that's been with me for 5 years.
Fantastic.
So yeah, so because we were able to keep in contact, again, we promoted. There's a story about them promoting within and then celebrating somebody getting a really cool opportunity outside of Guidant because we didn't have that opportunity inside of Guidance. So awesome to see that growth. But then that connection around that offboarding piece, that respect and that relationship created a referral back to us that has paid dividends now for over 5 years.
The other thing I noticed that's related to this, when we did our session on your development day, and I
Yeah,
asked people, we did a virtual session on owning your career, and I asked people what sort of goals you're working on. I noticed that many people were very public in saying that they had these side businesses they were working on, they're working on a book, this or that. And it struck me that Guidant is very progressive in seemingly supporting people in whatever they want to be doing with their careers. Obviously, if people are collecting a salary, you want them to be giving maybe a certain amount of hour support, like providing the right amount of value to the organization, but seemingly very supportive in people pursuing whatever they want to pursue in their careers. And if that happens to take them somewhere else, that's great because they're going to leave with a great perception of Guidant and probably refer people back in the long run.
yeah, 100%. In fact, we just had a couple of months ago, I guess, we had an individual that had been with us from the Philippines for 4 years, 5 years, and had saved up enough money to buy a dream home that was attached to their dream business, and so they were able to simultaneously buy their dream home, start their dream business, and we were able to make a huge deal about how cool that is. That because of the confidence that they gained with how we support entrepreneurs, that's what Guidant does. Is we support small business America and the dreamers we call them, and so when somebody becomes a dreamer themselves and takes a big leap to bet
Yeah.
on themselves, heck yeah, we celebrate that a lot and recognize that. And we still keep in contact with this individual. They're happy, they're thriving, and really, really cool to see that.
I love that. Now, I mentioned my session because I wanted to talk about how people were in the chat. You mentioned the development day that you had. Can we talk a little bit
Yeah,
more about that? Because I thought your approach was pretty innovative and unique, something I hadn't seen before. Like you said, you scheduled a full day virtually for all
totally.
employees, at least one for everybody in North America, and then one for the smaller group that's in Asia. And it wasn't just about learning and development, but it was about taking action and also encouraging people to embrace AI more in the organization as well. So can you talk about the kind of the approach and the flow of that day? Because I thought it was really cool and I know others could benefit from it as well.
Yeah, for sure. So here's how we learned to set up an all-day virtual event. A maximum of 4 sessions, usually 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes apart, because we're all across the globe.
Mhm.
Whenever somebody wanted to eat breakfast or lunch or dinner in some cases, right? There was enough time in between those. We started with you as a keynote, and you crushed it. You set the stage so perfectly for the whole rest of the day. You gave people tools and confidence and a wonderful tone for people to lean in to connect with others but invest in themselves. And so you did a great job there. 30 minutes later, the next session we did was a vision board exercise. We wanted to take principle into action that day, and that was really, really important to us. And our theme for the day was a culture of, an ownership mindset. We were trying to develop a culture of ownership, and so our theme was ownership mindset. And so that second activity we did was we went into breakout groups and we did vision boards. We gave people a little bit of instructions and then asked people to envision their lives in 2030. And we saw some beautiful vision boards and some really remarkable, vulnerable conversations about how people wanted to grow their family or grow a business or mend a relationship or regain their health. They wanted to write a book. They wanted to read more books. And it was really, really inspiring to see people lean into that vision board. And then the third activity, we believe at Guidant that if we want to increase the level of ownership that we have in the organization, we have to give people space to learn, grow, try, and fail at new experiences and tools. And with AI being such a powerful tool in our world, we gave people space in that third activity to say, hey, you now have your vision board for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Here's how you can use AI to take your vision board and start getting some prompts ready to how you can do something by the end of 2025. And then the most important part for that day we felt like was one step forward, is what we called it. One step forward. We are going to give you literally 15 minutes in this meeting to go and take one step forward.
Mm.
And for some people, that was calling their mom that they hadn't talked to for many, many years. One person made a physical therapy appointment that they had been delaying for a long time that had been impacting their health. One person wrote down 2 recipes that they had in their head that they want to get into a cookbook. I could go on and on and on about how this one step forward they took. And then the fourth activity was pretty fluid. We call it Meet Main Street. We support small business. And so we give people money to go actually out into their neighborhoods and their communities to support a local business. Sometimes they're Guidant clients, sometimes they're not, but they go out and support small business just to keep perpetuating that backbone of our American economy, but also to stay connected to our purpose in supporting small businesses. So that's how that day sort of rounds out.
I love that. And I love that there was that not only the vision exercise, but the session to just start taking action right away. I wrote a chapter in my book, when it came out years ago, about the importance of having a bias for action that, we can plan forever. And it's great to have a plan. That's the first big step. But until we take action, nothing really matters, right? You can learn, 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 but you got to start taking action to gain that momentum. And you're giving people an opportunity to do that. I remember you had an element of AI in there as well, right? To help to kind of encourage people to adopt or play more with AI tools. Was that part of the day?
Totally, 100%. Yeah. So in that third activity, we set people up with some instructions to take their vision board, and we gave them a list of prompts to consider. We put them in a breakout room with a facilitator that was skilled in AI, and allowed them to use that prompts to help refine that until they got a measurement for a 2025 goal, taking one of those vision board items, and then that one step forward. And we wanted them to use AI as a tool to help them as a thought partner generate
Mhm.
ideas and to get comfortable using AI. In this case, we used Copilot because of our subscription, but some people use ChatGPT, and we were cool with that too.
Mhm.
Whatever tool they were comfortable with. But so many people said a couple things. One, loved how the day was structured. We went from inspiration generally to vision personally to action individually in the day, and got to really see that build on it. And then for many people, I was surprised. They're like, this is the first, I've been scared to death of AI.
Right.
And this was it was so great to have a safe place and some coaching and some experimenting to just go in and try it. This is the first time I ever tried
Yeah.
using an AI tool. And that was really, really cool for us to give them that first look at AI and what it can do for their life in a really safe place that will drive, again, that ownership mindset and them to take action to continue investing in themselves.
I love that, and giving people that safe space to play around, not only to take action right away, but to try new tools. I often think you go on LinkedIn and you think, oh, everybody's already using AI and I'm the only one that doesn't know how to do it, right? And the truth is, a lot of people haven't really been using it because they don't know what to do. They're intimidated by it because it's a new piece of technology. And so just to give them a space and say, here's the first step. It's not that hard. Just type this prompt in, see what it does, play around with it. Gives people the confidence to do more and more, which is hopefully going to benefit them and the organization.
For
Last thing I
sure.
wanted to talk about, Cory, was in addition to all the work that you do at Guidant, you also wrote a book called HR You Kidding Me? Surprisingly Simple Steps to Unlock the Power of People. Can you talk
Yep.
about why you wrote this book and what people would get out of reading it?
Yeah. So a couple things. I told you early on that, I sincerely believe that the workplace should be a place for everybody where we can be our best, do our best, and feel our best. So many people have jobs where they're commuting to a workplace. They expend all their energy for their employer. They drive home tired, frustrated, and out of energy, and they end up having little energy to be really important roles in their lives. Parents or spouses and partners and pet parents and pickleball players or whatever it is that's exciting to you in your personal life. I
Yeah.
want work to be the opposite, where people come to work and they're energized by the impact they're able to make, the connections and relationships that they have, and they're driving home excited with energy to be the best version of themselves in all aspects of their life. And so I've committed a career in HR to developing that. We've won, number one best places to work awards. I've helped two different companies be number one best place to work award winning companies. And I saw this AI wave coming in terms of content creation, and I knew that I could write something that would be one story and anecdote based, that would be unique, that AI could not or ever
Mhm.
create, in terms of really personal stories, many of which are funny, and two, frameworks and tools that are so simple. So simple. We often overcomplicate leadership, we overcomplicate culture, we overcomplicate HR. And so these are really simple tools, many of which I've mentioned on this call, in terms of offboarding and partners in crime and
Yeah.
hiring in cohorts. And there's hundreds of those little ideas that anybody can pick up and read and go, okay, I can up level myself or my team or my HR or my culture, because I now have, some great stories, some great frameworks, and some interesting ideas that I can apply. And so I was really happy to write that book. I've gotten amazing feedback on it. People have circled back. I'm sure, like you, I read your book and
Yeah.
applied this and had this amazing outcome. And
Yep.
it's opened doors for me to have really meaningful relationships and conversations with people. And so appreciate you mentioning the book. I'm really proud of it. It was genuinely put out in the world to help people create cultures where people are happy
Yep.
and enjoying the work. And that's a part of their life and not their entire life.
That's what people want, right? And we're in a position, you're in a great position to help people, at least within Guidant, if not beyond, to achieve, to accomplish that. And they're going to spread the word and tell more people, which is going to benefit your organization more as well.
Yeah, I hope so. And it was after Guidant Financial won the number one best place to work award that I was like, I think I've learned some things that I can share with some people about
Mhm.
how I've helped two different organizations now be able to do this. And so yeah, to be able to capture that into a book for tools for other people to again, as a menu to apply whatever is meaningful and useful for them in their situation, is super exciting.
Well, Cory, this has been awesome. I know there's a lot more things that we could talk about, but I think we covered some really important stuff here. I really appreciate you coming on to share the work that you've been doing. And I know there's more if people want to learn and read more in your book, as you mentioned, Surprisingly Simple Steps. Sorry, in your book, HR, You Kidding Me? Surprisingly Simple Steps to Unlock the Power of People, which is available on Amazon. Cory, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it. I look forward to keeping in touch and talking more in the future.
Had a blast, Andy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.